because ultimately whatever the work that you do, they will see in terms of research publications only. So now whatever the result that we have been obtained from the experiments, that you need to project with very clear and preferably good English, because sometimes the way of conveying the things should not going to be very clear. So if you are able to provide the things, whatever the reports, whatever the results that we got in an effective way, there is a maximum possibility of accepting our research articles. See, most of the time, as even I was reviewing the many research articles, most of the time we see like they just cite, suppose let us have some kind of some effect on the some temperature, like magnetic on the temperature. So what we do is magnetic field is increases the temperature. So they will just simply write the magnetic field increases the temperature. But that is not the correct way of writing, right? So we are writing it is increasing, but you need to check what is existing studies and how much variation you have been received. And if you are able to give, you are saying that it is increased. What is the reason behind this? Why it is increasing? So if you are able to provide all these details in a clear manner, there is a maximum possibility of accepting our research article. And also most of the time we see simply they are going to project the results. So that's where even if you are able to give the physical results, the trend that is happening in our experiment, that is going to help you even in terms of citations, because most of the people those who are in early researchers, they will be not knowing the reasons. They will look for the reasons. So wherever they are able to find the reasons, then definitely they will take our research article and then they will refer our article as a reference, so that there is a possibility of increasing our citations as well. So today most of them knows what is meant by citations, right? Citations is, anyone? Do you heard about the word citations?
Which has been added in a new publication.
New publication means.
I mean, in a new research article that article has been cited in the reference section.
Yeah, reference section. You are going to use the article that you published as a reference. Others, right?
Number of
so how many? Yeah, number of users that in terms of reference here actually. So that most of them knows, right? So now that citations also has been placing an important role, because see, the work that we have done, if no one is not referring, then what is the use of the work that we have done? No use, right? So even citations are also very important part of the research. So anyway, let us start the session now, because when we look at the examination purpose, you need to elaborate things, right, in the exam. So just see here. Let us understand what is meant by interpretation, and then we will see how and why we can do the interpretation things. I think you are able to see the screen right now. You are able to see the screen, I hope.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Yes, ma'am. So here, meaning of interpretation. What is meant by meaning of interpretation? Interpretation refers to the task of drawing inference from the collected facts. After that, an analytical or experimental study, suppose in fact, it is a search for the broader meaning of research finding. So we can also say like an interpretation is concerned with the relationship within the collected data and partially overlapping analysis. So interpretation also extends beyond the data of our study, and also it includes the results of the other research and theory and hypothesis. So as we mentioned now, the interpretation, see, when once you're done with your experiment, we are having the experiment in terms of data. I think almost most of them will have, once they have done with either it may be a theoretical investigation, either it may be experimental investigation, you may be having the results in terms of data. Now, that data will help us to understand what is the behavior of that particular pattern, and it also extend various results, that the way that we are going to present the results. Sometimes it may also extend the beyond the data of the study, and you can also make sometimes by knowing the data some kind of hypothesis and theory also we can measure. So that's where interpretation will help us. And now the interpretation also uses, there are some factors, like see here, the device through which the factors that seems to be explained, what has been observed by the researchers in the course of the study, that can be understood, and also it provides a theoretical conception which can serve as a guide for the further researchers. Means interpretation, sometimes as I mentioned, we may be having various parameters once you are done with your experiment. So instead of simply providing as increasing as decreasing, let us try to provide some kind of physical understanding so that the results will look effective, and also it will be clear for the upcoming researchers. So that's where it will help us. And let us see why interpretation is required. So now, if you see the interpretation is essential for the utility of the research findings, lie in a proper interpretation, and it is being considered as a basic component of the research process. I think you already know the research process in the first module. I think sir has been already explained. So there are some reasons they are providing here. So why interpretation is required? It is through, so interpretation will give us, through interpretation, that the researchers can well understand the abstract principles that works and the findings of the work that they have done, and through this, whether he or she can also link up his finding with the other studies.
Second, sir.
Yeah, now fine. Yeah. So sometimes what happen, by knowing their work, either she or he can link up our findings with the other studies as well, and having the whether they have the same abstracts and same principles, and also you can able to predict about the concrete world of events. Like suppose if you have working at the fresh inquiries, also can test these predictions. So I'm having disturbance from you guys. Yeah. So this is where we need interpretation. So without interpretation, we can't judge our results with the other studies, and also we cannot understand the basic principles, that things that are available, right? Next, second part. Interpretation leads to the establishment of explanatory concepts that can serve as a guide for the future research studies, and also it opens new avenues of intellectual adventure and stimulates the wish for the more knowledge. So interpretation also will help us the concepts of the future studies, what are going to be done, right? Like if you are already having the in terms of data, so when you are exploring the things, if you are able to provide with complete details, so that will help us the upcoming researchers to know what kind of things they can do, and researchers can better appreciate only through interpretations why his findings are what they are, and can make others to understand the real significance of his research findings. So that's where I have said you. So whenever we are writing or interpreting your results, try to provide the physical reasons. Try to provide the physical perception. So whenever you are able to provide the physical perception, it always looks good, and also there is a lot of possibilities to increase your views, your article views. Then other way, other point, next point is like if you see here, the interpretation of the findings of exploratory research study often results into hypotheses for experimental research, and such as interpretation is also involved in the transition from exploratory to experimental research, since an exploratory study does not have a hypothesis to start with, but the findings of such study have to be interpreted on post factum basis, in which case interpretation is technically described as post factum interpretation. See, if you are until unless if you have interpretation, sometimes what will happen? We can't able to provide the hypothesis from the experiment that we have done. So whenever we want to make some kind of hypothesis, we need to make some kind of exploratory research to experimental research. Whenever you want to do, you want to give the comparison, we need interpretation. Next, let us understand the techniques of interpretation. So interpretation is an art that one learns through practices and experiences. See, interpretation is not easy until unless if we have a huge experience on the experiments. So if you are huge experiments, so then the things whatever has been done, the experiments, that you have to be look at the practical way, then only you can able to give the interpretation. So thus some of them, those who are working in the theoretically, they have to understand the physical perception. What is what is the physical reason that the result that we are getting, and sometimes it is very difficult to get the physical reasons also. But if someone who will provide the physical reasons, they will definitely benefit in one or the other ways. Now, let us see some techniques of that interpretation so that are following. The first point is that researchers must give a reasonable explanation of the relations. That's what we are looking at now. Relations which he or she has found, and he must interpret the lines of relationships in terms of underlying processes and must try to find out thread of uniformity that lies under the surface layer of his diversified research findings. So most of the time we are discussing the same, like whenever, because as per the exam point of view, you need to elaborate the things. So that's why we are providing in-depth of the techniques, in-depth way of the techniques, in-depth way, the techniques that you are going to use in the interpretation. So anyway, they have to give the reasonable explanation of the relations and whatever they have found. And also, they also look at the previous, like, see, the sometimes what happens, there are some theoretical researches. If you want to compare, we will be getting the same pattern, so that then only they are going to proceed further. So to know that, after getting the data, we need to do some kind of interpretation. Next, second point. If you see here, extraneous information, if collected during the study, must be considered while interpreting the final results of the research study, for it may prove to be a key factor in understanding the problem under consideration. Suppose sometimes there are some people, most of the time we will see in the researchers, they will be copying from the some research articles, but whenever they are interpreting, they are not going to provide their information. It always better to provide from where we are taking the data, from where we are copying the data content that we are using in our interpretation. But most of the time, we will see they are not going to do that. They are not going to give their reference. And third point, consultation will result in correct interpretation and thus will enhance the utility of research results. Sometimes, suppose you may be having your supervisor,
Raju
if you
sir,
are able to, yeah, any
regarding the
doubts?
second point,
Yes, sir.
if I'm going to write a review article, that means I need to take some 10 to 15 articles on some of the drug or some of any kind of article.
Okay.
So I may take the information from these 10 people only. I'm going to write a review. I'm not going to put any information, or I'm not going to put any trials what I generated.
No, okay, fine. Let complete, sir, your question.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
all.
So in this case, it will be covered this one, or it will not be. That's what my question.
See, thing is, like, whenever you are collecting, either it may be a review article, either it may be a general article.
Okay.
Whenever we are copying something from the content,
Okay.
if you give proper interpretation with some this particular article, I have taken this kind of content. They
Okay.
have been given the, by considering this parameter, this has been increased.
Okay.
So you may be looking at the things that you are like specialization, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, not only two or three, but when you look at the review article,
Yeah.
minimum, if you see the review articles, minimum 100 references should be
Okay.
there.
Oh, okay,
Means
fine.
sometimes what we will do,
Yeah.
due to either it may be whatever we say, like laziness or whatever. So
Okay.
we are not going to, we may be collected the information from the different articles,
Yeah.
but when you are, we will keep only the some of the things.
Okay.
So
So
in
to
that
avoid
cases,
discrepancy, you need to keep better to provide the 100 references. That would be better to avoid these kind of
yeah,
issues.
whatever the references you are taking, all the references if you are keeping,
Yeah.
that will be better, because
Yeah.
today from wherever you copy,
Yeah.
the algorithm checker is there. So
Okay.
it is going to detect directly.
Yeah.
From there, they have been described this about this particular
Yeah.
parameter.
Okay.
Automatically, it will give link to that.
Yeah.
That will be the malpractice, right? So sometimes
Yes.
what happens, the
Yeah.
editor also is
Yeah.
going to reject simply
Yeah.
without saying any reason. In the initial stage,
Okay.
rejections will come this kind of reasons only.
Okay. If you provide 100 references, based on that, he may consider, because it's completely review and it doesn't have any kind of new generated data.
Yeah, see, when you are providing more and more results, what
Yeah.
happens? Editor also feels that, oh, he has
Yeah.
been done the lot of
Okay.
literature review. See, we
Okay.
can't say by taking only one or two studies.
Okay.
See, even something if I say, if
Yeah.
two or three people accept, that don't be the thing, right?
Okay.
Because out of overall
Yeah.
is 100.
Yeah.
So if suppose 80 or 90 if they say, so
Yeah.
definitely the 80 also feel, yeah, it is correct, because not one person. The
Okay.
80
Thank you,
members
sir.
are said, the
Yeah.
way is correct, right? So
Thank you
that
so
way, sir.
much. Okay.
I hope understood, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank.
Okay, sir. Yeah. Next, I think we are in the fourth point, right? Yeah. Consultation will result in a correct interpretation and thus will enhance the utility of results. Sometimes what happen, once you are done with the work, once you are done with the experiment, we'll be thinking what to do, what to write. So whenever you have your supervisor, you just made him, and then we got this kind of result, and we got this kind of plots, so that you can interact with him more and more, so that the things will get clear and you can give the correct interpretation. Sometimes, most of the time, you see this without discussing with the supervisor, they are going to do the things. So whenever you have discussions, but the initial stage, because once you are experiencing the things, it's no need of a discussion with the supervisor as well. You are already experiences, you are already had experience, then you can proceed your own way. So this way also you can improve the interpretation. And last point, the researcher must accomplish the task of interpretation only after considering all relevant factors affecting the problem to avoid false generalization. So this is very, very important, right? Like as just now sir was asked a question, right? Like whenever we take only 2 to 3 results, and then we can't give the generalization, false generalization. So that will become false generalization only. So we have to see the what are the factors that they have done. The same factors, if you see the previously what they have done, if you are getting the similar kind of pattern, and then you can provide the generalization. Until unless we can't give the generalization. And also whenever you are looking at the interpretation will avoid the false generalization things. So these are the some techniques to improve the interpretation. Next. Up to now, any doubts, sir? No doubt. Anyway, let's move now. Yeah. Next, a research report and significance of the report writing. So most of the researchers always at the end of their experiment, or at the end of the 3 years, they must have to do this task, because each and every research scholar or research student will face this stage. So we need to make the research report or significance of our report writing, right? So research report is an oral or written presentation of important and useful aspect of the research work done. And the report is also known as thesis or dissertation nowadays, right? So report must be attractive in appearance, neat and clean, whether they typed or printed. Means neat and clean in the sense they're not like we need to decorate the outer layer. It should be the content that we are using that should be neatly appearable and it has been typed with a proper printing. And also the report writing is an integral part of the research process. So if you see, this is the primary part that we see at the end of our work. So that is like scientific writing or a thesis or a paper is intended to present clearly the purpose and outcome of specific research investigation. Means when you are writing the scientific, either it may be for the thesis or it may be for the research article, you have to present clearly the purpose and outcomes of the research that we are going to do. Any queries? Sir, please share the today's topic link. I'm not understanding. What is your doubt? Yeah, anyway, this content you are asking. Yeah, at the end I'll share, but nice. At the end of the class, I will be sharing this by putting into my login. No issues. The notes will be provided, not an issue, madam, at the end of the class. And also, see, whenever writing the scientific writing for the either it may be a thesis or maybe a research article. So definitely one has to clearly mention the purpose of the research that you are doing and what are the outcomes that you are going to get for your specific research. So these two things are important when you are looking at the research report. Then it is the last but major part of the research study, because the research report, it may be the last, but it is the main and principal part of our research study. And a report helps the researchers get feedback from the other researchers and experts working in the same field. So that may be either in terms of, sometimes it may be called as viva voice or something else, right? Viva voice, or some places they call it as colloquium, and some places they call there are different DC meetings they may be conducting each 6 months. So from there you can get the feedback about the work that we have done. It also evaluates the success and originality of the researcher's work. Without a report, a research study is incomplete and of no use. See, unless the work that you have done, it will be success and it recognized as a originality whenever you write the work that you have done, that in terms of a research report. Otherwise, it will be incomplete and no use of that, the work that we have done. Right? And let's see, there are some other points as well. And a report essentially conveys the outcome of research work to interested persons. And a report will, those who are in an interest, like sometimes what happen, most of the time people will not have a time to look at either the introduction that you are writing, either the methodology that you have written most of the time. So they will look at initially, see, in the initial stage what they will do, they have to see what are the outcomes they are getting. Sometimes people will look at based on the outcomes, they will design their research domain. Sometimes what will happen, Like some people will look at the results that you have provided, whether the results are attractive. If they are attractive, then they will go for the either introduction or methodology. So that way, there are some interested students, not all. So that way, a report also sometimes will help us, those who are interest of the persons, by looking at the outcome of our research work. There are many people are going to look at our work also. And brilliant work and most striking findings are of little value if they are not effectively communicated to the scientific world. So the brilliant work and most striking findings are of little value, a little value, if they are not effectively communicated to the scientific world. So if the work, even though it is a brilliant work and more striking findings, are only we will have the little value if they are not effectively communicating to the scientific world. That means, so the results, whatever those things, the results that you have, that you need to provide in terms of reports, research reports, in a effective manner. And sometimes dealing with publication of results, one would lose of his claim. This also most of the time we see, because sometimes you may be getting simply when you submit to the journals, the articles are going to simply they say out of scope. How they are getting this kind of rejections? Because the editor is not going to look at the overall the article initial stage. What is going to see is not editor, sorry, editorial assistant. So the editorial assistants, he doesn't know the work that you have done. But the thing is going to have the software. So suppose if the journal is suppose journal of molecular liquids, there is a journal name, like if you have journal of molecular liquids, so they may be having their aim and targets, right? The journal aim and the targets. So they will look at the aim of that particular journal, and they will see the scope out of the scope that we have provided in the our article. You will just click on one link so that you will be getting some report. How much content is matching with the scope of the particular journal. So whenever it is going to match, then it's going to send for the editor. And editor also will look at the only the content that you have provided in the abstract. So in the abstract section, you'll just simply read, and anyway, you'll first initially you will look at the title. If the title is attractive, then you'll go for the abstract. Anyway, these things also we will discuss in the upcoming classes. What is meant by title, how you are going to present, what is meant by abstract, all these properties are there. And also I shared you the two links. They have been explained clearly. How, where, why, what way we have to take all the information that is provided in that links that I shared you. If you are interested, you just go through those videos. So that way, research report also is become priority now. And there is another, whenever we are submitting to the for projects or something somewhere, some kind of places, you need to provide the need of the research that we are doing. Sometimes, most of the time, we will see we doesn't know the need and the research gap. Without that, by looking at the research supervisor, he will be proceeding most of the time. So this is common in nowadays, because the way that we have been habituated in the previously, the same way we are doing further with this. There are some people, they will be having predefined structure ideas, then their targets are different and they are going to provide complete details, and their they have already the need of the work that they have done, because already they know some the work has been done, and with that they are going to give why they have been doing this particular work. Sometimes what we will do, the same parameter or same effect if you are using and the different methodology if you apply, sometimes you may be getting either it may be increase or either it may be a decrement. So both also you need to provide. If, suppose if it is increasing, where you can apply this. If it is decreasing, where you can apply this. So this is the way, if you are able to think now, the things that you are getting the results, that you have to project in this way, so that the work will get clear. Then let us understand now. There are some points that we have mentioned here. Writing a research paper is very challenging task for the researchers. That anyway we know. A good research report requires sufficient experience and insight about his research activities. So most of the time, whenever you want to write a good research report, unless if you have sufficient experience in that field, we cannot give the proper way. And also, you need to observe each step what is going to be happen, so that then only you can able to provide the a good research report. Otherwise, simply we can write as increasing, this is decreases, as increased, decreased, this is improved. So that way we are going to do the things. And a research report is needed to due to the following reasons. Why this particular research report is required? What is the need of the things? The research must be reported in full, and its result should be subject to a criticism and verification. Means we can say like each and every part that you have been taking, that you have to provide in terms of reports. Right? The same thing that we are providing here. The research work is done for the benefit of human being, therefore it must be communicable to the general public for the practical use. Sometimes what happen, the work whatever the work that we have done, that may be very useful for the society, but how it is going to be popularized until unless if you are able to provide, or if you are able to communicate in a effective way in the scientific world. Otherwise it cannot be publicable, right? Like advertisable. So it will be like a general way people will look at. So that you need to highlight things that you have done, because most of the time without knowing the things we will do, but just look at the things and then see the results and whatever the existing results, and then try to provide, is there any need for the present trend that we have today. Any doubts? Someone is who's giving some disturbance, madam? Okay, fine, thank you. So now, next point, the research should be considered to be culminating act for reflective thinking, and it encourages other person to take up some problem further investigation. Means if you are able to provide in this way, it will be very helpful for you, because this will help you to improve your views, your research article views. So ultimately, we are looking at the same same, either it may be how to increase the citation, or it has to be published in a good journal, so that it will automatically, the views are going to be increased. And the research report requires the creative thinking of a researchers to review the related studies and discussing the results of the study and also suggest some new problems for the studies. So the research report, if you are able to provide the related studies, anyway we are going to provide in terms of literature review and discussions and results of the study, and also by doing your experiment, is there any possible extensions for the new problems, new studies? So that also you can provide in the research reports. And research report is also necessary for giving shape and form to the investigation and solidifying it. So the research report is also necessary for the giving shape, means the report will always give the clarity about the work that you have done, means it will give it a like within a short time, within a simple way. So that's where it will help us. It is needed for providing a clear picture of research methods, sample and techniques used in the conducting the research work. So in the research report, so we are going to see the clear picture of the research method, the samples that you have been considered and techniques that you have been used in our research work. Next, and the research report is meant for the popularizing the new contributions in the discipline. In the recent days, the research report will give new contributions that that means the extensions that you have done, that if you are able to give, definitely that by looking at your report, your views also are going to be increased. Next, let us understand the different steps that are available in the when you are writing a report. Research reports are the product of the flow, either like painstaking or accurate interactive work. Because writing a report, it's not an easy, it has some steps to implement. So the first one is logical analysis of subject matter. So what is meant by logical analysis of the subject? So it is the first step which is primarily concerned with the development of a subject. There are two ways in which to develop a subject. One is logically. So logical development made on the basis of mental connections and association between the one thing and another by means of analysis. So logical analysis means like how you can give the logical development. Let us see, there is some experiment and some magnetism. So once you are done with the experiment and magnetism, when you look at the logical way, we have to see what are the other already existing studies are available, means how the authors are making use of this particular magnetic field, and you can also see the direction also will place an important role of the magnetism. So if you understand in a logical way of the research report, then when you're research writing, then the things will get very clear, so that you can able to give the connection with the each other in a easily without doing at the more in-depth knowledge. So because when you're reading, sometimes what happen, they will take some kind of research article and they will see, they simply read the things, but they are not going to think. If you start thinking, then the things that you are doing, that will be very, very effective. You can able to connect with some one place to other place with one thing with the another thing very, very easily. That's where logical analysis will help us. Logical treatment often consists in developing the material from the simple possible to the most complex structures. So that's what we discussed here. So when you're reading, you should think how, where, what kind of situation, where you are getting easy, where, what kind of situation you are able to not able to apply magnetic, all these kind of things. If you are able to look at, then it is easy for you to understand and for you to give the effective way of writing a report. And chronological order. So chronological order development is based on a connection or a sequence in time or occurrence, and also the direction for going or making something usually follow the chronological order. Let us understand what is meant by chronological order. See, now they were clearly mentioning that we have to, the development that we have to give in a connection or sequence in time. So that means, let us see the work. Let us suppose I am writing an article on some nanofleet. So, or nanotechnology. So whenever I am writing on nanotechnology, I have to see where it has been started initially and what is today, how the nanofluid the other researchers are using. So sometimes what we see, most of the time, not sometimes, most of the time, the people doesn't follow the chronological order. Means initially they are going to provide this, and then after that they are going to provide where the nanofluid started. So if you are able to provide from, suppose it may be started in 1990s, right? And the work that we are doing, this is some 2021. So if you are giving this first and this is last, then it will be invalid, right? So even though sometimes, most of the time, even we received in the initial stage by saying the same, not going to express, but if you look at the things, because we have been understand these things by going, and we understand that how the chronological order is important when you are writing the research article. As we said, so whenever we are looking at some particular topic, you have to introduce that particular topic and then elaborate the step by step at a particular point of time. Sometimes you may see about nanofluid, there are a lot of literatures, but in nanofluid you may be having some 1 lakh articles, but now you may be having the confusion that what to take. So whenever you have in this way, so again you see, you look at the extension that you have done. Nanofleet plus, sometimes they are going to change the nano material properties also. So if you are able to see the specific material, you may be having very less here. So 1 lakh is going to become now some 50,000 now. So even 50,000 also you may feel sometimes it is very difficult. So now whatever the domains, so nanofluid, in the nanofluid now we are looking at some what you say, like ferroparticles. Let us look at the ferroparticles now. Now in the ferroparticle domain, look at the extension that you have done here. What are the extensions that you have done? And then see these two combinations and then provide these two combinations only. So that now this will become very, very less articles. Then it is easy for us to cite those particular articles in our investigation. But most of the time, without implementing this, they'll simply write the things in a number of pages to pages. But that is also the cause for the initial stage of the rejections. The editor is not have the patience to see, because we are not the one person is submitting the article in a particular journal. There is entire world. So how many researchers are there? Everyone is going to submit their research articles to the particular journal. So he is going to get bored, right, by looking all the kind of journals. So that's where, see, editor is having only one click. He will just click the link so that all your references will display there. Then he will see how you have been given the reference. By seeing that, simply is going to reject. So be cautious about this chronological order also, and logical thinking also. If you are able to give logical thinking, it is very, very, very high possibility of going our article to the review. Otherwise, it is immediately will be rejected. And next, preparation of the final outline. How you are going to prepare the research report of the final output. So this is anyway research report, and the research report, this is also the main important part, because most of the time we see this outline only. So outlines are the framework upon the which long written books are constructed, and they are an aid to the logical organization of the material, and a reminder of the points to be stressed in the report. Means whenever you are preparing the outline of the final outline, you have to look at the logical thinking as we mentioned there, and also you also need to provide, you have to stress the highlighted work that you have done, highlights of your work. So if you are able to see, most of the time, instead of providing the fine like logical thinking and the research highlights, the research highlights also they will highlight simply the previous results also, because already there are some others are also got the same. If you are getting, no need to mention, right, because you are giving the deviations. What is your contribution, that you need to highlight here. But most of the time we see they will be providing the previous research highlights, previous authors already what they have done. So this is not good practice. Then preparation of rough draft. So this follows the logical analysis of the subject and the preparation of the final output. So in this way, when you are preparing the rough draft, you have to look at the what has been done in the research study, what are the procedure and theory, the technique that you applied, and technical difficulties faced, and how they were overcome the technical difficulties, and broad findings and concluding the remarks. This is the rough draft of the report writing, and rewriting and polishing of the rough draft. How you are going to polish? Like usually these steps require more time than the writing a rough draft. So this requires the careful revision that makes the difference between the mediocre and a good piece of writing. And while rewriting and polishing, one should check the report for the weaknesses and logical development or presentations. So most of the time you may also receive in future, because you are also going to be one of the research supervisor in future. So you have to look at all these proper things, all these like characteristics. And the researcher should also see whether or not the material as it is presented has the unity or cohesion? Does the report stand upright or firm and exhibit a definite pattern like marble arch, or does it resemble an old wall of the moldering cement and loose brick? So this is some example. We also need to see whether what kind of material they have been processed, whether it is a unity, whether it has any question with the already existing one. So all these properties we need to revise when you are revising the or rewriting the rough draft. And in addition to that, the researcher should give the attention to the fact that his rough draft has been consistent or not. It's also very important. And he should also check the mechanics of writing like grammar, spelling, and uses. Whether they have been used the properly the grammar and spelling uses. Like most of the time, we are not from the native English speakers, so we know our standards, right? Because we will use unnecessary words in between the content and preparation of the final bibliography. Next, in order to come to the task of the preparation of the final bibliography, the bibliography which is generally appended to the research report is a list of books in some way pertinent to the research which has been done. So sometimes this is common part of any research article or thesis. So bibliography part is either bibliography, sometimes you may be taking from the books that you have to cite there, and sometimes it may be research articles. It should contain all those works which the researcher has been consulted, means whatever they are referred, all the research articles are books that you have to provide here. The bibliography should be arranged alphabetically and maybe divided into two parts. Like first may contain the names of the books and pamphlets and so on. And the second part contain the magazine and newspaper articles. So maybe like books, maybe you may be giving in this way. This is general format, right? It means, see, I will also show you different journals in online, and we will see how different journals will ask different formats. Then how to understand at the initial stage whether this format is correct or not. So that also will be looking at the. I will show you in the hands-on. Like I will show you I will open the particular like article, and there you will see different kind. They are going to give examples in this way. That means now you have to understand author name, title, the place. That means like publisher, and you have to give the year. But whereas in a research article, you may be having either value number and issue also. So that also you need to provide, and page numbers as well. Research article. But this is a book, so we are not having the page number, but we have the year of publication and publisher and title of the book and author's names. Right? So writing the final draft. This is the final step that we are going to do. So this is the final step. The final draft should be written in a concise, objective style and simple language. Avoid vague expressions. It seems there may be another like ones. So while writing the final draft, the researcher must avoid the abstract terminology and technical jargons. Illustrations and examples based on the common experience must be incorporated in the final drafts, as they happen to be most effective in the communicating the research findings to the others. And a research report should not be dull, but must be enthusiastic people and maintain interest, and must show the originality. It must be remembered that every report should be an attempt to solve some intellectual problem, must contribute to the solution of the problem, and must add to the knowledge of both researcher and reader. So these are the final drafts. So from remaining things we will see in the next class. Like any doubts, sir? Can we include Google links or URLs in the bibliography? Yeah. That's, I would like to share this about this actually. See, the most of the time, the Google links follows the BTech students. So what they will do, they are going to see like some kind of like if you say some robotic, they will see robotic processes that they are there in the Google links. But Google links are not going to be valid for a long time because whenever the editor is going to check, it has to scratch, I mean, it has to show whether it is available or not, from where they have been taken exactly the source. So that they have to mention very clearly. So better avoid citing the Google links. Any other doubts that you have, sir? Other madam.
Hello.
Any other
Hello?
doubts?
Hello.
Yes, madam. Yes, madam.
Sir, will you give examples or tell us how to write different references in Harvard style or Vancouver style? Because some journals
Yes.
ask for that style of references.
Yes, madam. I will show you the hands-on session. And if you see,